Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Keidel. I'm the principal at Brentwood High School, and I'm very excited. We have an absolutely fantastic turnout tonight. I thought it was maybe that you're excited to come and see me, but I think it's the fact that there's 450 kids in the 8th grade class is why this crowd is so big. We're very excited about you being here. I would like to know how many parents, this is the first time you have ever had a kid going to the high school. If you would raise your hand. Okay. This meeting is for you. This meeting is for you because this meeting is to relieve your anxiety. Are you guys getting me back there? Okay, great. The camera I was talking about. Thanks, sir. The great thing about being the principal of the high school, I have my own TV crew, so I have my own reality show. And so whenever I want to be on film, I just ask them to follow me around and get some video footage. I've invited Lindsay McCumber. She is our freshman guidance counselor. She's with us tonight. She has been talking to your sons and daughters this, was it the last 2 days or the last 3 days? The last 2 days, coming into their classes and basically going over the same thing that you're getting today. So they've had this conversation, and so you should be able to talk to them when you get home this evening or in the next couple of weeks as they prepare for life at the high school. But the reason we want to do this for you and this, why it's so important is I know you're anxious about having a 9th grader, especially for the first time. I was in those shoes it was just about 6 years ago, and time went by real quick, and now my daughter's at the University of Tennessee and enjoying life up there, and it does go by quickly. It is a very great experience to see your sons and daughters grow up, and where they've been, the little ones that you've seen in the elementary school and sitting on your lap, to where they got a little more independence, and in the middle school they start ignoring you. By the time they get to graduation in 11th and 12th grade, they're back. They're real people again. And so hopefully, we're going to help turn them back into real people for you. And so, but what we want to do is make sure you understand what they're going through and what opportunities they have at Brentwood High School. And so tonight is about easing the transition to the high school. Now I got to tell you, it was 2002, my first year as principal of the high school. I used to be the principal here before I went across the parking lot. And this was my first PowerPoint presentation. So I had that little guy flying across there. And it just seemed so much fun. I've just kept it year after year after year. So, it's not the greatest of technology, but it was fun when I was doing it back in 2002. The freshman year, from choosing classes, to showing up the very first day of school. The freshman year is absolutely the most important year in high school. If you do not get off to a great start your freshman year, you're going to be behind and you're going to be trying to climb out of a huge hole that their classmates are not going to have to climb out of. And so it's really important they get off to a fast start. And we're going to be talking about course selection. That's the main thing that we're going to be talking about today, and how to get involved into school. But it's going to, if they don't do it right, it is going to be an overwhelming thing to try to get out of that hole as they get through the high school. Registration, as I said, Ms. McCumber was here the 27th and 28th. We're obviously doing this tonight, the 29th. And then February 18th to the 25th. Then you need to mark that on your calendar. That's going to be when you are going to sit down with your son or daughter, your child, and you're going to sit down with our guidance counselor. As you can see, Ms. McCumber may or may not be there on February 18th to the 25th, but we have 5 guidance counselors at the high school. And so you will be meeting with one of our guidance counselors to do the registration for next year. And we will we'll do the registration through Brentwood Middle. Do we have anyone here that is not already enrolled at Brentwood Middle School, that may be an out-of-zone student? Okay, right. If you are, then here's the number to call our guidance office, 472-4231, and we'll schedule a separate appointment with anyone that's not at Brentwood Middle School. Okay, during the registration meeting, you've got the forms in front of you. You got the 4-year plan. And that's what we're going to spend a lot of time discussing. So we want to give you the information tonight, and then go home and have a chance to talk to your son or daughter about what they want to be taking for the next year, so that the meetings that we have on the 18th to the 25th, you can use the time to get to know the counselor, and the counselor can get to know your son or daughter, and you guys can pick out the best schedule for them. You've had to complete an enrollment form when you enrolled at Brentwood Middle School. Every time you transition from a new building, we have to go through the same verification process. So when we ask you for the registration meeting, we're going to need 2 utility bills. And so if you want to go ahead and print those off as you get your bills now, and you have to fill out the enrollment form and a residence affidavit. So that's every time you switch a building. So you do it as you come in the 9th grade, and then you don't have to do it 10th, 11th, and 12th. We just do it in the 9th grade. Anytime we switch buildings in Williamson County, we have to do the residency information. Okay, these are our guidance counselors. I said Miss McCumber is going to be the freshman guidance counselor. She's going to be responsible for all 450 of your sons and daughters. We are the only school that has a freshman guidance counselor, and it's because we are smarter than everyone else. If it's the most important year in high school, why would you not have somebody dedicated just to the freshmen? And so what we did is said, we've got to make sure that those kids' needs are met during the freshman year. So we have assigned Lindsay, who is to be in charge of all the freshmen. She meets with every freshman throughout the freshman year. And so it's to make sure that they're not having any difficulties during their freshman year, because that year needs to be successful. Then we have the other 4 guidance counselors divide up the students in grades 10 through 12. And we do that by parts of the alphabet. And the reason we do that is we want them to stay with that same guidance counselor for 3 years. Because at the end of the 3rd year, they're going to need to be writing letters of recommendation. And so they need to get to know their students. And so we have them broken down by parts of the alphabet. But our guidance counselors, these are the 5 that will be here to meet with you during the scheduling process. Now, you don't have to meet with your person that's going to be part of the alphabet in the 10th and through the 12th grade when you're doing the scheduling. It's all very getting to know them, because during that freshman year, they're going to be spending their time with Miss McCumber. And so, but those are the 5, just so you have a name and a face that you can put together. Okay, the graduation requirements. The state of Tennessee, as I said before, we have a freshman guidance counselor because we do things the right way. The state of Tennessee changed the graduation requirements 6 years ago. And what they did is they changed their graduation requirements to match what we were doing at Brentwood High School. 6 years ago, we had 86% of our students taking 4 years of math. The state average was 40% of students took 4 years of math. We had 86% taking it. It was very important that students take 4 years of math. So we had that. That was what was understood at our school. And so the state started changing those requirements. And it really follows what we've been doing all along, so it made no adjustment to what we had to do. But so these are what you have to have for graduation. There's 22 credits. You have to have 4 credits in English. You have to take English every year. You have to have 4 credits in math. So you have to take math every year. You have to have 3 science credits. We recommend 4 science credits, but the state requirement is the minimum. So that's 22 credits. You take 6 classes a year, you get to 24. So we recommend you take a 4th science class. Social studies, it's 3 credits of social studies. You have to take world history or geography. A lot of our students take European history and world history AP during their sophomore year. It's not a requirement, but it's highly suggested. Then U.S. history and government economics. Every kid has to take personal finance. The state of Tennessee does not lead the country in a lot of things, but one of the things that the state of Tennessee does lead the nation in is personal bankruptcies. Therefore, personal finance is a state graduation requirement. It's a semester class. And usually they can take it when they're matching it up with one of their other semester classes. Lifetime wellness. All of our freshmen take lifetime wellness, and we encourage you to take it their freshman year. That's when they're going to be in with all the other students that are taking lifetime wellness. And so they'll be with the same grade level. You can put some of these classes off, as we talk about in just a minute, when you're doing your 4-year plan. But if you do that, then you're going to have a 10th grader, with all 9th grade students. Or you have an 11th grader that's taking it with all 9th grade students. So we encourage our 9th graders to get that graduation requirement out of the way. And as you see, it says 1.5 wellness credits. And so we get 1 credit for wellness, and you have to take another 0.5 PE credit, which is a semester of physical education. Now, you can either take it as a class, or if you play a sport or in the marching band, those extracurricular activities count towards that 0.5 PE requirement. You don't get a credit, you get to waive it. So if you're a football player, you spend a whole year playing football, you do the same number of hours that they would have in a physical education class, you get to waive it and you get to take another class in its place. Okay? Same thing is true of marching band. If you're in the marching band, the amount of time that they spend marching and exercising is going to cover, and it's going to be able to waive that wellness requirement. And then there are 6 additional credits that you have to have. These are what we call the focus areas. You have to have 3 classes in that focus area. You have to have 2 credits in a foreign language. French, German, Latin, Spanish, and Chinese are our foreign languages. And by 2 credits, it's 2 credits in the same foreign language. Can't take a credit or a year of Spanish and then turn around and take a year of French. It's 2 in the same one. And then our fine arts, you have to have a fine art credit. It can be a musical credit with band, chorus, music history. It can be a performing art of theater arts or a visual art class. You have to have one of those as part of your requirement. As I said before, the focus area, you have to have 3 credits. And these are the areas that you take those elective credits. It can be in advanced placement classes, and it's humanities and fine arts, math and science, information technology, marketing, arts, audiovisual technology and communications, and business management. And so that's where you're picking up your elective classes other than the core areas that are recommended. Okay, this is, I was a former math teacher, so this to me is fun. It's filling out a map. It's, figuring out where kids are going to take what classes as they go through their 4-year plan. And this is really important even in your freshman year because there's not a lot of options in your freshman year. As you can see from this, during their freshman year, they're going to take English, math, science, world history, and lifetime wellness. Out of the 6 classes that they take, we already put 5 of them on the board. And so they're going to have to take those 5 classes, and there's only 1 spot left, and that's to take an elective. Well, if they've been taking foreign language in the middle school, they need to continue with their foreign language. If they're involved in the band, they need to continue with the band. So there's lots of different things that start to fall into place. And as we said, there's 22 credits that you have to get as you go through these 4 years. And so the great thing about the 4-year plan is you get to start mapping when are you going to take those classes. You got to take 2 years of a foreign language. You got to have a fine art. So when are you going to get those things? And so that's really, it's very important to do this as a 4-year plan to figure out when you're going to do that. And if you took a foreign language in the middle school, it would make all the sense in the world to get your foreign language done right away. Get that completed. You don't want to have a year off between 1 year of a foreign language and the next year. And so it's real important to do it there. But if you haven't taken a foreign language in the middle school, this would be a great place to get your fine art out of the way and then do your foreign language in 10th and 11th grade. So it's different for different people. And that's one of the things, it's where their interests are. If you're involved in the band, band's going to go right in there. And so that's something that, and as we talk about this, and I'm going to open it up for questions later. And so, because I could see, all the minds really going there, well, what if I'm doing foreign language and band? And I'm starting to get into those situations. And so when I do open it up for questions, if you have individual questions that impact just your kid, that you want to know about, please keep them to yourself. These seats are not comfortable. I've been sitting on a cafeteria table my entire life, or a cafeteria chair, and I know they're not comfortable. So I'm going to try to do everything for everybody, to get that information so that everybody has the information. Then if you have individual questions, we can answer those later. Now, if you have a question that I'm not clear on something, please ask that because that probably benefit everybody. But if it's just something that, really small like that, that's something that, I'd rather discuss with individual people than take up everybody's time, okay? But I will answer that banned foreign language question. One of the things that we talked about was the world history geography. You have to have a world history credit to graduate, and you have to have 3 years of it, okay? One of the things you can do is you can take world history or European history, and European history does count for world history, so you could slide this over to here, and all of a sudden you've got English, math, science, lifetime wellness, band, and that foreign language, okay? So that's just one thing that you could do. You can move those things around, and that's the great thing working with the guidance counselor. They're going to be able to show you what you have to have. You have to have English every year. That's a given. You have to have math every year. That's a given. Science is required 3 out of the 4 years. Social studies is required 3 out of the 4 years. And so that's where you start having a little bit of flexibility. We encourage you to take those core areas every year, but you do have some flexibility in that. And then the same thing is true with the personal finance and the PE. If you're taking PE as you can waive that. It allows you more flexibility in picking out the classes you want to take. Okay? So there's a typical 9th grade schedule. English, math, biology. All of our students take biology as freshmen. The world history or human geography, lifetime wellness, elective. And we want all of our kids to have a study hall. You can do it as a 7th class. We've got some high achievers that do that they don't want a study hall. It just doesn't work. They want to take these classes. You can do that. We recommend a study hall, but, if they want to take 7 classes and omit the study hall, that's a fine decision too, okay? And then they have lunch, and we have what we call an enrichment period where students can meet with their teachers if they're struggling. And this is the most important page we have up here. This is the most important page up here, and that's the course levels. Because as I said, what you're taking is pretty much the same across the board. You're going to take a math class, you're going to take an English class, you're going to take a science, you're going to take a social studies, but it's determined which math class you take, which English class you take, which science class, and what level they are. And we have 3 levels of classes. We have standard classes, we have honors classes, and we have advanced placement classes. And the advanced placement classes start in the 9th grade. And so, but what you have to do is decide which one's best for your child, okay? And it's your child. It's not what your neighbor's child is. It's your child. So how do I decide? Teacher recommendations. The teachers at Brentwood Middle School are going to make recommendations what they think is best for your child, where your child's going to be successful. And I think that's the important thing to remember is they want your child to be successful. So they're going to make a recommendation that they say your child is going to be successful by taking this class. They're not doing it saying, I don't like your child. They don't need to take that class. They're trying to find out where your child is going to be successful. So teacher recommendations is one of the factors that we look at. Standardized test results is another factor that we look at. Where do the kids score on standardized test results? And where have they scored over time on standardized test results? Not what did they do this one time on this one test. It's over time. What do they generally do? Are they high achieving students? Or are they, average students? Or are they below average students? Looking at the Explore and the TCAP or the standardized tests we do. And one of the things that we look at with those is it's not what score they make, it's where they fall in percentile-wise with their other students, Where they fall in with their peers determines where we're going to place them. Look at previous grades. We've got some very talented students that aren't motivated, and they've made some terrible grades, okay? But they're very bright kids, And so that's a factor that goes into it. We have some other kids that aren't very academically gifted, but they're the hardest working kid that's ever lived, which is a great thing, and they're going to be incredibly successful, But, their achievement level, is based on their work ethic, not their ability, And so those are things to consider. And so they may have very low standardized test scores, but they've got the best work ethic in the building, and their previous grades have demonstrated that. So it's just a combination of all of these things that go together. But the one thing, and then goals and motivation. And remember, these are the student goals and motivation. It's not the parent goals and motivation. It's the student goals and motivation. You know, I'd like my, daughter to do things. I'd like my son to do things. But that's what I'd like is, what they're going to do is a completely different thing. And so that's very important, that it's what they want to do, not what you want them to do. Because they're the ones that are going to have to do the work. There's a lot of work expected at the high school, and it's got to be done by them. It can't be done by you. It's not where you do their old science project and things like that, because more than likely, well, I don't take that. I take that from a personal experience. Science projects and math problems, sometimes it gets over the level of the parent. I'll speak to that from myself point of view. I won't throw others into that boat. One of the things in doing that, the grading scale is one of the things that we talk about. Is very important in deciding that. Why would a student take an honors class when they can make a 100 in a standard class? And so one of the things that we do it shows you what the grading scale is. We give additional quality points for honors and AP classes. And so we really encourage students to take the more rigorous classes. And so we reward them by taking honors and AP classes. And so we want them to be able to say there is a reward for taking a challenging classes. They're going to have to do more work. They could do the regular class if they're an incredibly gifted kid and do the regular class and make straight A's and have a 4.0 GPA. Fantastic. But we want to challenge kids. We want kids to really push themselves to be the best they can be. And so we, do the 4.5 and the 5 for AP classes to try to, give them a little extra motivation to take more challenging classes. It's the same scale they use at the middle school in terms of the breakdown for A, B, C, D, and F. Now this is the Tennessee Uniform Grading Scale. As I said, the state changed their policy a few years ago, try to match what we were doing graduation-wise. This is one thing they did not change, and this is really an important slide because this is where there's a lot of miscommunication. As I said, look at the previous slide, 91 to 100's a 4.0. On this one, 93 to 100's a 4.0. If you take AP U.S. History, for instance, and you make a 91 in AP U.S. History, you have a 5.0 for your GPA, okay? If you make a 91 in AP U.S. History, you have a 5.0 on your GPA. If you make a 91 in AP U.S. History, your GPA is a 3.0. Okay? The state, what we call this, is a push towards mediocrity. We believe that the state, when they created the Tennessee Uniform GPA, was encouraging kids to take easier classes. There is no benefit for taking a more difficult class. And so that's why we still use our other scale, because we want kids to take the more rigorous classes. So that's why we really encourage the kids to take honors and AP classes. And so but this is the scale if you're doing for the Hope Scholarship and the Hope Scholarship GAM Scholarship, which is an even greater scholarship. That's what they use. Now, the Tennessee Hope Scholarship is $4,000 a year to a state university if they make a 21 or higher on their ACT or have a 3.0 GPA. Well, out of 400 kids in our senior class, all but 38 have already made their 21. So we really don't worry about what are the 3.0 GPA. And so what we encourage kids to do is to take the more rigorous classes, do better on their ACT test, and then they don't have to worry about where they fall on this Tennessee Uniform GPA scale. Now, we will print this out every semester so you'll know where your child falls in regards to that. It is important when they get to the GAM Scholarship, which is the second one, which means you have to have a 28 on your ACT and a 3.75 GPA on the Tennessee Uniform Grading Scale. Okay, back to the different classes. English 1, English 1 honors, and English as a second language are your three options. Okay, so which one do you sign up for? Well, think about the slide that I showed you before. You're looking at, teacher recommendations. You're looking at their standardized test scores. Well, what do you look at when you're looking at the standardized test scores? What we look at for an honors level class is if they've scored at the 75th percentile or higher on their standardized test scores, whether it's their Explorer test that they took in October and it's their TCAP test, if they score at the 75th percentile and higher, they should sign up for the honors class, okay? Well, if that's the one indicator. Now, I say that because I said that's just one of the indicators, right? Now, if they scored at the 75th percentile and they have zero work ethic, they don't like coming to school, they don't like to read, they're not going to do their homework, they may be at the 75th percentile, but all the other things are very low, and they're not going to be successful. So that is just one indicator. So the reason I gave you the 75th percentile is if you're looking at the test scores as one of your things to give you some background information or some ammunition to have the conversation with them, that's one of the things that you want to be able to do is say, you scored in the 75th, you have the potential to do this, you have the potential to be successful in that class. Now, do you want to be successful in that class? So English 1 or English 1 honors. And then, and if your student's been scoring in the 95th percentile, the 99th percentile every year since the second grade, obviously you're circling the English 1 honors class. Math. This is where kids really start separating. And it's across the board, and we separate them throughout their high school careers. Algebra 1, and it should also say Algebra 1 honors. I got to update that. So there's Algebra 1, there's Algebra 1 honors. Those for the students that are in 8th grade math. There's Geometry and Geometry honors. There's Algebra 2 and Algebra 2 honors. And again, we're talking about those same percentiles. Now, the Algebra 2 honors, how many parents have had kids that have gone through that started in Algebra 2 honors? Okay? Algebra 2 honors is one of our most difficult courses at the high school. We're going to talk about social studies in just a second. We offer AP Human Geography, a college level class. Algebra 2 honors is harder than that class. And so it's the most difficult class we have, and it's the one that the kids struggle the most with. So if you're going to do Algebra 2 honors, you really have to have a student that really likes math. It's not somebody that's just good, it's a good academic student. They've got to really like and understand math to be successful in it. And I think that's where a lot of times we make mistakes in making recommendations for kids. They're good students, they're well read. If a student loves to read, they test incredibly well. If they love to read, they're going to have high test scores across the board. But to be successful in Algebra 2 honors, you got to love math. Because what we're doing in those, we're preparing those kids to take AP Calculus. Okay? And so that's the important thing about when you're doing the Algebra 2 honors is they got to like math. If they just tolerate math and they just happen to be a good student, Algebra 2 honors is probably not the class for them. They're good students. They'll be fine in Algebra 2. And so that's one that really to look at is when you're making that determination. They really got to like math if they're going to do that. Algebra 1 and Geometry and the honors classes in those, if they're good students, they need to be in the honors level. That Algebra 2 moves so quickly that if they don't really want to spend the time in it, they're not going to be successful with it. Science, back to the English, it's only one option, biology or biology honors. And again, it's the same thing. Look at the criteria determining those levels. If you're going to do, and again, using that 75th percentile, and what kind of grades they're making in their science classes. World History, Geography. We have World History and Geography, World History and Geography honors, and AP Human Geography. We started off, this is the third year we've offered AP Human Geography. We started with 75 students taking AP Human Geography. And out of those 75 students, I believe 70 of them passed the test. Now, The great thing about having students that come over from Brentwood Middle School is they are incredibly talented. So out of those 75 that were taking the class, they were 75 of the brightest kids in Williamson County. And so, of course, they're going to do well on that test. The next year, we had 120 kids take the test. And out of those 120 kids, because we opened it up, because the first time we realized, you know, we probably could have a few more kids do it. We had 114 of the 120 pass the test. This year, out of a class of 420, we've got 180 kids that are enrolled in AP Human Geography. And they're doing quite well, and we expect 175, you know, to be able to pass the test with, you know, with 4s and 5s and be able to earn college credit. So we're having some great success with AP Human Geography. Now again, your child has to be motivated to take AP Human Geography. They've got to, you know, they may not enjoy reading, because I don't know many 14-year-old boys that enjoy reading, but they have to be willing to tolerate reading and to do the reading that's necessary outside the classroom to be successful in AP Human Geography. And what we're looking for that on the AP Human Geography when we're talking about the test scores is that if they're in the 90th percentile on all of their TCAP tests, if they're above the 90th percentile, you know, that's a pretty good indicator that they could be successful in an AP Human Geography class. But just because they're above the 90th percentile and if they don't like school and they don't want to do work and they won't do stuff at home and they won't study at night and do their homework, then they're a terrible candidate for this. I think he'd be a great candidate for it. And so that's something to think about with the AP Human Geography. Electives. One of the things about, you know, Brentwood High School is there are all kinds of electives, and we want students to really to be able to follow their passions. We've got, 3 students from TV Pro with us tonight. They can take 4 years of broadcasting. That's something that they really enjoy doing. If they like building websites, there's all kinds of computer classes for them. They can start their foreign language. If they want to be involved in the theater, we got students that take 4 years of theater. Choir, they can take 4 years of choir, 4 years of art. And so there's lots of opportunities in those elective classes to find something that they like. Taking English, math, science, social studies may not be the most exciting or captivating things that kids do, but when they get to some of these elective classes, they find things that they really are passionate about. And so that's what we really like about those. Standard and honor level classes for all of our foreign language. Different diploma types. We're required to go over these. These really are have very little importance. How many people think their kids are going to college? Okay. So whether you have a high school honors diploma or not is pretty much irrelevant. Okay. The college looks at your transcript. They don't look at what type of diploma you have. They just look at the transcript. They look at the courses you're taking. They look at your test scores. They look at your extracurricular activities, the involvement, the leadership opportunities. It doesn't matter what diploma is stamped on it. And so, you know, we're required to go over these because the state came up with them and Williamson County came up with them, but they're really not that important. You know, they're supposed to be used to motivate kids to do it. Our kids tend to be more motivated than most. And so Tennessee diploma with honors. And as it said at the top, you know, if you qualify, you get the highest level. So Tennessee diploma with honors means you've scored a college readiness level on all 4 of the ACT benchmarks. Tennessee diploma with distinction. You've been in governor's school, all-state musical. You're a national merit finalist. You've scored a 31 or higher on the ACT. 3 or higher on at least 2 AP exams, and earned 12 or more semester hours of post-secondary credit. Williamson County Honors Diploma is the next one. You've got to have 4 years of science, 14 credits at the honors or AP level, and have a 3.5 GPA. Brentwood High School Honors Diploma, all the graduation requirements, take honors where when it's available, 3 years of a single foreign language, as well as 5 AP courses. GPAs 3.0 or higher. Okay, freshman orientation. So you've picked all your classes, okay? Your students are ready to come to the high school. I don't know if you've talked to them recently, but they're ready to come to the high school. When I was president of Brentwood Middle School, principal of Brentwood Middle School, president there one time too, I think. But when I was principal of Brentwood Middle School, you know, I used to think, man, we've got the greatest school in the world. These kids absolutely love coming to school every day. So it's starting to come around March, April, May, and I start talking to the 8th graders. I said, you're going to hate leaving us, aren't you? And they're like, nope, we're ready to get out of here. And I'm like, ooh, that, you know, kind of hurt my feelings, but they're ready to come. They are ready to be here. And so what we do is we have a freshman orientation, and we offer it 2 days in June and 2 days in July. If you can't come to one of these 4 days, it's not the end of the world. So if you've got it and say, oh my gosh, we got to change all of our plans, we've got to be here for one of those 4 days, we would like them to come. We think it's very beneficial, the stuff we cover during that time period, but it's not the end of the world if they don't make it. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, we're going to change all of our vacation plans to make sure they're one of those 4 things. We think it's important, that's why we have it. We want them to be able to feel comfortable coming around our building, and so we have the 4 days. And this, I'm going to have this posted on our website. Is it on there?
BMS
oh, yeah.
website right now.
And it's in your flyer.
If you go to the BMS website under Stay Informed, it's like the top announcement, so you can get the link from there.
Okay. And then you can pick one of those. And then we have a freshman day that the students come and they pick up their textbooks, they get their lockers, and they get to go around to their different classes and meet their teachers, and that's the day before school begins. And so it's August 8th or 9th, I think, next year. Okay. Most important year, as I said before, you know, algebra class may not be the most exciting, English class may not be the most exciting. To make a high school experience memorable, you got to be involved. And so we really, really look at that list of clubs that kids have the opportunity to join. That's why kids come to school. They enjoy that. That's the fun part. They tolerate the other stuff that we ask them to do so that they can have fun. These are the fun things. And you know, down in the bottom right-hand corner it says, and more. That's because every time a kid comes up with a new club, we add it. Is rowing club on there?
Yeah, we couldn't fit everything.
Yeah, couldn't fit everything. We had a rowing club this year. We had kids that were interested in, they joined the National Rowing Club. And all of a sudden we had a bunch of kids that wanted to start rowing together. We got a rowing club. It's great. So you have kids that have a common interest, and, you know, and that's the great thing about high school. You know, when in elementary school, their best friends were the kids that in the neighborhood because they could walk out the door and walk down the street to them. You know, as they get to the middle school, you're still tied to the neighborhood because parents only want to drive them so far. You know, when they get to the high school and they get a little more mobility, now it's no longer, I don't have to be best friends with the kid down the street. I get to be best friends with the kid I have something in common with. You know, and so that's the thing that we find out is at the high school, these extracurricular activities, that's what kids are really interested in. And that's where they really develop their friendships and those bonds and make the high school experience great. And so we've got a variety of clubs. And we keep adding more because what kids are interested, we want to be able to provide for them so that they really want to come to school and be part of it. As I said before, it is the most important year in high school. And that's just to emphasize to them every time we talk to them, we let them know how important it is to get off to a great start. Okay. I think I went through that pretty quickly. I think I've set a record this year. I knew those seats were hard. Open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
When it comes to the electives and you have all those computer classes, is there a way to get a description of what each one of those?
Yeah, the question was, can you get a description of those computer classes? Yes, with all of our classes, on the Williamson County website, there is a link to the program of studies. And they have, for every single course that's offered in Williamson County, there is a course description. And it's pretty detailed of what's expected in each of the classes. Yes, sir.
Two-part question. When applying to college on the transcript, are both honors and AP classes designated in the transcript?
Yeah, the question was, are honors and AP classes designated on the transcript? They are designated on the transcript. It'll say Human Geography AP, or it'll say U.S. History Advanced Placement.
And then that shown as it relates to the rest of the graduating class? How it
Yes,
ranks?
what we do is we do the question was, is the cumulative GPA shown compared to the other students? We do the cumulative GPA, we do the Tennessee GPA, and we also list their class rank. And to give you an example, last year, the top 10% of our students, we had 420 students graduate, 42 kids, for the top 10% of our students. The minimum GPA was 4.3, so they averaged from 4.3 to 4.6. Their ACT ranged from 33 to 36. That was the top 10%. That was 42 kids went from 33 to 36. And the only reason I say that is, your kid, we've got just incredible students across the board, and they would be number one at any other school in Williamson County, and they could be number 120 at Brentwood High School. It's that competitive. Our kids are that talented. So we don't get caught up in the class rank. We have colleges all say you're only eligible for the scholarship if you're in the top 5% of your class. And we say, well, the top 5% of our class, and they say you have to have a 29 on your ACT. We've got over 120 kids that have a 29 on their ACT. Over a third of our kids have over a 29 on their ACT. And so when we start writing that letter, the colleges say, okay, we'll include all your kids. And so we don't get caught up in that class rank piece. Okay, yes, ma'am. How will they be signing up for the appointment with the counselor?
I know that's done through Brentwood Middle School.
It's done through Brentwood Middle School through their guidance office. They'll be sending a note home with the students. Okay, we'll be using Sign Up Genius to sign up for the classes.
New enrollment forms you said we need to fill out, do we need to have that done in conjunction with these counselor meetings?
Yes, bring the question was the enrollment form. Bring the enrollment form and the 2 proof of residency to the registration meeting.
Where do we get those forms?
The forms. No, do you have the enrollment forms? The enrollment forms are on the district website. It's under parents. Okay, it's another question. Yes, sir.
Do we get this presentation?
Yes, I'll have this presentation posted on the website tomorrow. When we're doing the videotape with the audio, as soon as they get that all together, I'll have them post that on our website as well, and we'll send out a link through Brentwood Middle to everything. But I'll have the PowerPoint posted immediately, or tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
When they have the adjusted Tennessee GPA,
Mm-hmm.
do the colleges, Tennessee colleges like UT, for example, are they considering the adjusted GPA?
No,
or
they
the
could.
real
They
GPA?
consider our GPA. And that's the question. In different colleges do different things, different admissions offices. But I know the University of Tennessee, they do not unweight the classes. They don't take away the 0.5 and the 1.0 that we give. They want students to take those advanced placement and honors classes.
One more probably stupid question. When the schedule says world geography/history, are those 2 separate?
No, the state did away with world geography, and the class is called World History and Geography now. It's one class, and then when you take U.S. History, it's now called U.S. History and Geography. And so the states changed that class and why they're different. Well, great. Oh, one more.
Is there somewhere that lists all the sports that count for that half credit?
Anything that's a TSSAA sport counts for the half credit. Marching band, dance, cheerleading counts, because those are all TSSAA. And then our club sports do count, and what we have to do on those, the sport has to make an application to the Williamson County schools, and the coach has to verify that the kids work done 66 and a half hours.
You just have to do it 1 year?
You have to do it 1 year, one time. So if they participate in their freshman year, it would be done. Okay? Well, I appreciate everyone coming. Thank you, and have a great evening.